Another one of my favorite movies is Batman. Yeah, you saw it coming. It's basically the comic book adaptation of my favorite comic book hero, Batman. Basically, Batman is the guardian of Gotham City as he tries to stop every crime possible. However, when Jack Napier, played by Jack Nicholson, becomes the Joker, Batman meets his match as he tries his best to try to stop the Joker. But the story is also amazing, and the character chemistry between Batman and the Joker is phenomenal. It's like one of the best on-screen hero and villain chemistries that I have ever seen. I also love the acting of Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. They both play their characters phenomenally, and they do an amazing job. Amazing job, and I believe everything that they do. And in my opinion, it's definitely the best Batman movie out there. Another one of my favorite movies is Ed Wood. You saw it coming as well. Johnny Depp played film director Ed Wood, who is often considered the worst director of all time, as he makes nothing but crappy movie after crappy movie. It covers the making of Ed Wood's 3 films, Glen or Glinda, Bride of the Monster, and Plan 9 from Outer Space. You sympathize with Ed Wood. He may make crappy movies, but you can't help but to like him. Actually, it's up to the viewers to decide whether they like Ed Wood or not. They don't portray him in any positive or negative way. They just portray him the way he was, and it's up to the viewers to decide whether they can sympathize with him or not. Ed Wood may be a little freak, and he may not kind of what we consider a normal person, but this movie celebrates him as well as makes fun of him at the same time, and it truly makes me appreciate his work even more. Martin Landau does an amazing job as Bela Lugosi, and I keep forgetting he's not really Bela Lugosi. Ed Wood is my filmmaking Bible, and I recommend anybody who wants to be a filmmaker when they grow up want to see this movie. Another one of my favorite movies is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Basically, if you are a cartoon fan, you are going to love this movie. Avon is a toon-hating private eye who used to help toons in court cases, but that's not the same anymore after his brother Teddy dies. He gets hired by a cartoon maker to take pictures of Roger Rabbit's wife, Jessica Rabbit, cheating on him with gagman Marvin Acme, the owner of Acme Corporation that Wile E. Coyote orders from. Then Roger gets caught up in a murder mystery of Marvin Acme after the Jessica Rabbit incident, and Eddie Valiant to try to prove Roger's innocence. I love this movie because it reintroduced people to classic animation and sparked a re-interest in it. Now, Roger Rabbit is an amazing original cartoon character in and on itself, but this movie also features a lot of the cartoon characters we grew up with, like Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse on screen together for the first time, Donald Duck and Daffy Duck having a hilarious piano fight, and many others that we grew up with. This movie is not exactly made for kids with Jessica Rabbit and a lot of drinking and smoking and gunplay all the time. Yeah, this is a big example why not all cartoons are made for children. And I basically recommend this film to anybody who loves cartoons. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a huge favor. Another one of my favorite movies is It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. The movie where all those crazy and interesting characters witness a criminal dying and then the criminal telling them about his fortune that he hides under a big W. Yeah, this is this movie. It's a long movie, so I can't go into too much detail about it, but I will tell you, it is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen. It is very underrated, and not many people talk about it anymore, but it is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And what's great about it is it has a lot of characters to offer, so you have a lot of characters to choose from on what kind of sense of humor you like. It's a movie that looks at greed in a comic manner, that greed will consume all of us, and that if you're greedy, it'll eventually consume you, and bad things will happen to you, surely, if you're greedy. It's pretty long, and there might be some slow spots, but if you have a lot of time on your hands, it'll definitely be something you'll never forget. Another one of my favorite movies is The Wizard of Oz. I bet you when you first saw this movie, you were a little kid, and this movie is also a sum of our little kid fantasies. It's magical, colorful, and also scary at times. I love this film because the music is great, and it's also just a fun time. Kids and adults can watch it and enjoy it, because it truly is timeless. The story seems very one-dimensional to some people, but this movie truly is amazing, and words cannot describe how much I love this movie. And I'm not going to get into too much detail about it because a lot of you have probably seen it, but those of you who haven't, I highly recommend you see it and let the inner child in you just have an amazing time, because this movie truly is classic. Another one of my favorite movies is To Kill a Mockingbird. This is one of those movies that has nothing wrong with it. Gregory Peck plays a lawyer who has to help defend a black man who's on trial for abusing his owner. I don't normally like courtroom dramas, but this movie is not just a courtroom drama. It's a drama. It's a big example of prejudice that exists in everybody, and about how there are some kind-hearted people in the world that are trying to make a difference. And a lot of it is seen through the eyes of these kids who don't know whether to side with their father or side with the people who are against their father. And that truly is where it counts, and that gets me right here. I don't have much to say about this movie because words cannot describe it. You truly should see it. And I'm not going to tell you what the title means because I bet if you watch the movie with your utmost attention, you will figure it out eventually. I recommend this movie to anybody who likes the film or likes the book. Another one of my favorite movies is Duck Soup. In my opinion, the Marx Brothers' best and funniest movie ever. Groucho Marx plays Rufus T. Firefly, who becomes the leader of the country of Fredonia. Groucho, being Groucho, just does what he does and gets the country in huge trouble with another country, and Fredonia later becomes caught up in a war. Zeppo Marx plays plays Firefly's secretary, who doesn't really have much to do in this film until the end. Harpo and Chico Marx play spies Ciccolini and Pinky, who it's their job to spy on Firefly. Basically, I cannot describe everything that happens in this film because the plot really doesn't matter. It's just an excuse for the Marx Brothers to run around and do whatever the heck they want, and it later leads up to the end of to a climax, which is the funniest war scene I've ever seen. A lot of critics have analyzed this film, think it's a satire on politics and stuff like that, and they try to debate what's the significance about it, to which Groucho Marx himself later said, "What significance? We're just four Jews trying to make a laugh." This is truly the Marx Brothers' funniest and greatest movie ever made, and I recommend it to anyone who just loves comedy and just loves to laugh. Because even though if the Marx Brothers' sense of humor isn't the kind you'll like, I'm pretty sure there's something in this movie that you'll like. Because they cram so much stuff in 1 hour, it truly is amazing, and I truly can't describe it with words. Another one of my favorite movies is Bride of Frankenstein. Out of all the Frankenstein movies I had to choose from, I had to go with this one. The original is a classic by itself. This one is superior. It takes off basically where Frankenstein left off. Frankenstein's monster escapes from the windmill that he got burned in, and he is on the run again. Instead of killing a lot of people like he does in the first one, he becomes a lot more sympathetic as he befriends a blind man who can't see him and treats him like a best friend. Dr. Frankenstein comes back to create a bride for Frankenstein's monster, and which doesn't work out pretty well for Frankenstein's monster. This movie truly is a classic, and not just the horror genre, but in movies, period. Monsters are just misunderstood. They're not mad killers that are just killing for the heck of it. They're just creatures with childlike innocence that are just protecting themselves when they feel threatened. And if you truly want them to, they can be sympathetic and they can be befriended. This also shows that who is the real monster, the creation or the creator. I recommend Bride of Frankenstein to anybody who has a heartbeat. Another one of my favorite movies is Bambi. Yeah, I could have filled this list out with Disney movies, but I felt that would have been too easy and redundant. I had to go through a hard time trying to decide which Disney movie I think should be on my favorites film list. So, I had to go with Bambi, even though I love every Disney movie. I just feel that Bambi has a lot of filmmaking techniques that make it a masterpiece of film. There's barely any dialogue most of the time, and it's mostly music, letting the music tell the story. And the hunter that kills Bambi's mom is never seen, so it's up to the viewer to decide what happens and picture who the hunter really is. And not to mention the animation is top notch, which is expected from the Disney crew. Even though it's just over an hour long, it truly is a masterpiece, and it's at the right length. And it truly is a masterpiece of both film and animation that I think everybody should take a time out of their day to see. And finally, my favorite movie of all time is Gojira. Yeah, I bet a lot of you saw it coming. You know I'm a big Godzilla fan, and I just had to put a Godzilla movie was going to be my favorite. Basically, Gojira is the Japanese version of the first Godzilla movie, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Basically, Godzilla is a monster that is awakened from the wake of nuclear war to wreak havoc on Japan. This movie is not a regular monster movie. It also has a story and it has emotion in it. Godzilla is basically a symbol of the atomic bomb, and that how nature can be affected by the atomic bomb if not monitored. And it's also a sign that nuclear war is not the right way, and that nuclear war will continue to destroy us if we don't get rid of it. The characters are very sympathetic, and you feel for them, and you just don't want them to die. Also, you get to see firsthand the destruction that Godzilla caused, as many people get hurt, burned, and just flat out crushed by this beast. Makes Godzilla one of the greatest all-time movie villains, because he's just indestructible, and you can't get rid of him, because he's just a symbol of all the things that we fear. A destruction that might kill all of us that we cannot control. I recommend this film to not just anybody, everybody. Everybody on the face of the earth should see this film. Should decide for yourself, is war the right thing to do, or will peace and prosperity help us more? Well, those are my favorite films. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I introduced you to a lot of movies that you probably never heard of. I'm Ben, and I'm signing out.